and Google Hangouts have come under the spotlight, with South Africa's two biggest mobile networks, Vodacom and MTN, calling for regulation of what's been known as OTT services in South Africa. Well, according to a recent report, OTT services like WhatsApp have rocketed in usage in SA, with over 10 million users in the country. WhatsApp and Skype offer voice and text message offerings over data networks, often at a lower cost than traditional telecom services. Well, MTN and Vodacom want a regulatory approach to data-driven over-the-top applications, and they argue that these players are getting huge benefit out of an industry without making any investment. SABC, however, who are opposed to it, believe that the regulation could be to the detriment of the industry and to consumers at large. Following these developments, the Portfolio Committee on Telecommunications and Postal Services held hearings, or what some refer to as meetings, with the relevant stakeholders in Parliament yesterday, and the chairperson of that committee, Mmamoloko Kubayi, joins us now to give us some insight as to what transpired in Cape Town yesterday. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Good morning, Ayanda, and to your viewers.
Let's begin by clarifying, because I understand that you've been quoted as saying that this was a gathering or a meeting and not a hearing into possible OTT regulation in South Africa. What is the difference, and could you please contextualize for us?
Yeah, it was a meeting because it's our first attempt to understand the context of the issues and to understand what is really happening. Public hearings in terms of the parliamentary context would have been where you have legislation before you, for example, and you're about to take a decision, either policy decision or legislation decision. So we are not yet there. That's why we are saying this is a meeting, just to first understand and scan the environment, to hear what are the different views, what are those views that are saying that there is a need to put some level of governance or regulations, and what are those and what are the consequences if we are to go there. And if not, what are the consequences of not going there? So there are various issues that have come up yesterday in the meeting, where people were saying if you do regulate, you'd constrain growth in the new entrants, which are new players within the industry, within the sector. And there are those that are saying, but there are things that are concerning, for example, cyber issues, protection of information, and all those things. Now, what we are trying to understand as a portfolio committee is that, is there a way to deal with these things outside regulations, or it will have to be in regulation? We received the department's presentation, we received ICASA, we received presentation from the forum, South African Communications Forum, Mr. Ngaba, who is also from the Internet Society, but as well as chairperson of Wi-Fi South Africa, was there, and Internet service providers as well were there, so that we had a different view. Prof. Gilwat was there from an academic background, who gave us the global picture and the stats and current trends globally. So it was quite a fruitful meeting for us to really have a sense. And I think even both parties, they were sitting across each other, not realizing some of the issues that they needed to start engaging on. And that platform created that opportunity.
What gave rise to this meeting? What prompted it?
What prompted the meeting is that, firstly, globally, if you look at international space, this matter is currently under discussion. Sorry. Last year as well, I attended several workshops where the matter came up, and it wasn't really clear, because you could see that people are not willing to engage into it because they don't know which territory and to venture into. And because people are sort of scared to go, whether to upset this one or to upset this one, especially facilitators, academics, you find that people are trying to trade very carefully on the issues. And from our side as a portfolio committee, we believe that because Parliament is a people's assembly, Parliament is a platform where people are able to be brought together to engage, and we felt that we have that duty, we have that obligation, we have that responsibility to ensure that this conversation happens.
I've been listening to some debate and discussions around this, and one school of thought suggests that the OTTs do not invest in infrastructure, and yet they reap so much money and rewards from the likes of MTN and Vodacom and the like. But another school of thought suggests that if these service providers, these network giants, your MTN, Vodacom, Cell C, were to make their services cheaper, so if it was cheaper to send an SMS, one would prefer to do that instead of using WhatsApp. But at the end of the day, it brings to mind a question. Are the consumers being factored in here and the prices that they are paying to communicate? Or is it just about business? Because even though Cell C is saying that we are not for regulation, one wonders if it is a benevolent or malevolent attempt on their behalf. Are the consumers at the heart of all these proceedings?
Exactly, that's the issue we have here. One of the concerns, and what I said to them yesterday, was that my concern and our concern as public reps would be to see where both the operators, what we call mobile network operators, MNOs, and over-the-top services coming into a boardroom to a deal without taking into consideration. Let's not fool ourselves. Both of them are businesses. Their interest is to grow their business and to make profit. And if we do not, as public representatives, come in and ensure that we safeguard the interest of the consumers, who are the people who have voted for us, we can't guarantee that anything will come that is of the interest of the people. Currently, no operator, including Cell C, can say to us that they are offering these services for free. There's all these services that are here. You find them if you have data to get into the internet. Now, is it cheaper to have data? No. An ordinary South African who's sitting in a rural area where there is not even access to what we call 2G, the ability to make a phone call. How does that person get into accessing an internet which will give access to a WhatsApp? Now, those are the things that we're pushing for as a portfolio committee. Affordability, accessibility for all South Africans.
Lastly, what happens now? Where do we go from here?
As the Portfolio Committee, we're going to put together a report based on what is coming out of the discussions yesterday. And then from there, we'll do a way forward. I wouldn't want to preempt what the committee is going to decide, but from that that meeting, which will look at the report, because we have to go into detail. What has been presented, what are the different views, what has come out strongly, and then out of that we take a way forward. But what came again from the presentation from the department, it was an indication that they are going to present a policy proposal later this year. And this report that we are putting together as a portfolio committee is going to assist us to be able to contribute to that policy process positively, because we would have had the views of the sector.
As a consumer, this is a side note that I'm asking on my personal behalf. Any chance that we could look into the cost of data? Are we going to at any stage look at that?
Definitely this, because if you are to look at this, what drives the cost of data? What drives the demand? Because if in terms of simple economics, it's a demand, and because there's a high demand of data, that's why the cost will go high. What drives the high demand of data? It's services of over-the-top that are there. Your WhatsApp, your Facebook, your Twitter, people wanting to be on those platforms, for example, people wanting to Google. Now, more people are getting into internet, and therefore that drives the high cost of data. Now, you've got to look at what causes those increases or what crosses. And we received from Prof. Gilbert to say that the price of data in the country has been stable, not going down, which is very high compared to other countries. And that's the conversation we'll have later this year as a portfolio committee on the cost of communication. I always say we have to package it. One, cost of your gadgets. When you do a contract, for example, you are not told how much your gadget is. You might be paying triple of the amount of your gadget in a contract compared to when you would be paying it for it cash. What drives that cost?
Sure.
It's because most of our gadgets are imported. We have no manufacturing in the country.
You have raised
at some point
so many important issues, and it breaks my heart that I have to interrupt you actually, because you are raising such pertinent issues, and I think we'll definitely have to invite you to join us once again once you've had that data discussion a little bit later on in the year. It has been a huge pleasure picking your brain on a number of things. Mmamoloko Kubayi, she's the chairperson of the committee there in Parliament that is in charge of Telecommunications and Postal Services. Yeah, I hope you're also looking forward to that data discussion. It must come down. All right, let's leave it there at least for now. Quick ad break. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Stay with us.